Very good afternoon and happy Janmashtami. ये धीरज कुमार खंडेलवाल सर, Chairman of Committee on MSME and Startup ICAI. CA Pramod Kumar Jain sir, Vice Chairman of Committee on MSME Startup of ICAI. Today's faculty, Mr. ASK Sharma sir, Chairman of Jamnagar branch of WRC of ICAI, CA Dhaval Shah, Chairman of Sangli branch of WRC of ICAI, CA Mahesh Thanedar, Committee members of MSME and Startup ICAI, Managing Committee members of Jamnagar, Sangli and Gandhidham branch of WRC of ICAI, senior member present and my dear friends. I, CA Janish Patel, Chairman of Gandhidham branch of WRC of ICAI, welcomes all of you on behalf of Committee on MSME and Startup ICAI, Jamnagar, Sangli and Gandhidham branch of WRC of ICAI. Friends, we are pleased to host the seminar in the need time of MSME sector. I suppose in this period of pandemic also, MSME sector will play a major role for recovering the financial losses which is occurred due to the pandemic. This MSME sector will do most of the activities in order to achieve the dream of Atmanirbhar Bharat. And to elaborate the topic, resource mapping in MSME, we are with us the expert faculty, Mr. ASK Sharma sir. Thank you very much, sir, for devoting your valuable time for our members. Now,
Thank you.
I would like to invite CA Dhiraj Kumar Khandelwal sir, Chairman of Committee on MSME and Startup ICAI, for his welcome address. Over to you, Dhiraj sir.
Thank you, Janice. I'm sorry I could not able to come on the video because of network issue. And I welcome all the participants on this webinar. And this is the, I can say, 31st webinar, maybe around. We had a number of webinars in this series on the MSME, covering each and every aspect, whether it's a mapping or whether it's a cluster management or whether it's a subsidy, whether it's exports, whether it's a documentation, whether it's the tax, whether it's GST, whether it's a investment, whether it's a private equity, all every small aspects we have covered. Or MSME Act, payment protection under 45 days. So this is a another area of the professional opportunities which are bringing. And I am happy that Gandhidham branch, Jamnagar branch, and Sangli branch all are taking a lead in this aspects. Though Sangli, I personally visited the branch and met the people and had a interaction program with the industry also. So it's a great opportunities in this area. And I believe that today's speaker, ASK Sharma ji, will guide further in the direction how the chartered accountant can map the opportunities by mapping this entire facility. So with this, I'll hand over to the Janice and request him to take further proceedings.
Thank you very much, Dhiraj sir. Moving further, let me introduce the today's faculty, Mr. ASK Sharma sir. Mr. ASK Sharma sir is a postgraduate in Geological Science from Osmania University, Hyderabad, and postgraduate in Business Management from Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. He started his career as a geologist in Hindustan Zinc Limited, Udaipur, and later switched over to MSME development and work in reputed organizations like National Institute of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, NIMSME, and Aptico Limited at Hyderabad. He is currently working in Foundation for MSME Cluster, FMC, and also, so far, he has prepared more than 80 DSRs and 40 DPRS both in India and abroad. He also contributed international assignment and actively involved in preparation of 30 profiles for Government of Qatar. Feasibility study on citrus processing in South Africa. He visited Montenegro, Europe, Palestine, South Africa, and Egypt as a faculty for UNIDO organized training program on cluster development. He is also preparing strategic plan for MSME cluster development for Federal Republic of Ethiopia, prepared more than 800 project reports in SME sector submitted to various nationalized banks. Sir, we are pleased to hear you on this subject. Please share your thoughts, sir.
Thank you very much, Shailesh. I think this is my second topic which has been interested to me. First one, I think I've given institutional mechanism 3-4 times. So as you rightly said, in fact, we have completed our policy paper on MSME to Government of Ethiopia in 2018. So, and we got certificate of excellence also. So that was happened in 2018. And sorry, first of all, my apologies that my video is not very clear. Maybe my face is not very clear because I have some issues with my laptop. So for that, my apologies. So as you rightly said, yes, since 2 decades I'm into MSME development sector. I was a financial consultant, almost freelance financial consultant, almost for a decade after Hindustan Zinc, and prepared many project reports for especially SMEs. And also I was official consultant at that time with KVAC, Khadi and Village Industries Commission also. So, and then I moved on. I worked in consultancy service in Epitco. So I was a senior consultant there, prepared many detailed project reports. So I could able to gain rich experience in a technical consultancy organization. So, and while working, when I'm doing my MBA, resources for MSME means, or resources for any industry means, normally we used to think about three: men, machine, and materials. So that means if we have good manpower, if we got good machinery, if we could able to get good materials, raw materials, I think that is enough for MSMEs to grow and to develop. And that's what we used to, whenever we prepare reports, mainly we used to highlight these things other than marketing plan and the financial, of course, the finance plan. But as when I went to Ethiopia, and when we mapped, in fact, I visited almost all the provinces in Ethiopia. Then I understood that the resources mapping for MSME, especially MSMEs, because I'm not talking about large enterprises, because large enterprises have their own capabilities, to get any kind of resource on their own. But when we are talking about the MSME sector, where they have many they have financial constraints. So for them, definitely, some of the resources are very scarce and very difficult to afford also. Then we understood that the mapping of MSMEs, resources for MSMEs, will not be, we cannot confine it to the men machine material, and it has to go beyond that. So what then, and in fact last year also the Minister of MSME, they also informed that we are one of the nodal agency for Ministry of MSME. They have a very flagship scheme called Spurti, scheme of fund under rejuvenation of traditional industries. So we are one of the nodal agency for the Ministry of MSME. We are taking care of 75 clusters across the country, right from Gujarat. In fact, we are doing in Gujarat one Navsari patchwork cluster, and in Vidisha we are doing. So in MP also we have some 10 clusters. So we cutting across the country, we are doing 75 MSME cluster development under Spurti scheme. So ministry also informed us that why we are mainly confining to providing finance. What kind of other resources that the MSMEs require. So they asked us to map what kind of resources required and whether they are available or not. Then I think in January this year, the IGNO, Indira Gandhi National Open University, also requested us to prepare the curriculum for rural development. And one of the subject that they have chosen is again the mapping of resources for MSMEs. Of course, they are mainly confined to the rural MSMEs, so which is mainly facing this kind of resource crunch. So we now came out with what kind of resources that are required, different types of resources which are required, and we are in the process of preparing a full-fledged paper on resource mapping for MSMEs with specific reference to the rural enterprise sector. Now, I will try to I culled out some of the important points on these resources, and I'm going to share you my presentation now. Hope it is visible. Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Facing this kind of resource crunch. So we now. Hello.
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. Because I am getting echo. That's why. So, if you see the slide, the second slide, there are six types of typology of resources are required by MSMEs. The first one is physical resources. So in that one, we have land, we have water, the energy resources. And the second one, second typology is the infrastructure, public works and other transport services. Similarly, of course, human resources, which is very important. Then financial resources, raw material resources. And recently, in fact, this is the recommendation which was given by the government of India and the Prime Minister's office and also the Ministry of MSME, that the resources doesn't mean that this men, machine, material or the land and water, but also resources in the form of the institutions. So that is again we are included as the resource mapping for MSMEs. So these are the different types of resources which are required for MSMEs. So let us go to this next slide. Now, land. So land is one of the most important resource which is required for MSMEs, and in fact, like a lack of land is one of the major problems that we are facing even in Smoothie scheme also, which is one of the flagship scheme. Many clusters, many projects we could able because of lack of land. So if you see, we have calculated the the land usage pattern in India, and if you see, out of 100%, the agriculture takes care of almost more than 46%, including follow land. Follow land means the land which is under not under cultivation but comes under agriculture. So it comes out around 8.4%. So if you see the total agricultural land and the follow land, it comes to around 54.1%. Then forest area 22.9%. Wastelands, like if you see the deserts, the hilly areas, occupying 8.42% of the total area in India. So whatever the land used for non-agricultural person is only 14.23%. Now in this land for non-agriculture purpose, again, if you see, it is again for roads, railways, again for residential purpose and industrial purpose. So hardly around 2 to 3% of the land is available for for industrial purpose in India. So that is the reason why in most of these cities, especially in the developed areas, whether it is urban or even semi-urban areas, and even if for that matter in some of the rural areas in some of the regions, getting land is becoming very difficult for MSMEs. They are unable to afford the land. So that is one of the thing. And see, again, the location of the land. So location also plays very important role in for MSME sector, because suppose if a land is available very far off from the main road or the national highway or the state highway, or they don't have any internal roads, so then again it is or they don't have any amenities, though that land is available, it is not going to be viable proposition for the MSMEs. Now that is one aspect. And there is another statistics which we could able to find out, is that more than 50% of the MSMEs which were established on agricultural land again in India. So that is another problem we are facing, maybe because of lack of land, or maybe because of lack of
So please wait for 2 minutes. There is a technical issue. Sir is joining just now.
Am I visible now? Hello? So right from the beginning, should I start or hello?
Automatically you sign out.
Pardon?
You can continue now, sir.
Shall I continue now?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Just 1 minute, some technical issue, and I'm unable to share my presentation. Is it visible now, my presentation?
Yes, sir. Visual.
So I'm sorry, actually, should I start from the beginning or should you want me to go for which slide? Hello?
So it is better to start from beginning.
Okay. So first one is the land resource. Now, if you see, the land is one of the major important resource which is required. And as I already informed you, we did, the government of India did a mapping of the land. And if you can see the percentage, in terms of percentage, by 2000, the agricultural land occupies 46% of the total available land in the country, and followed by the fallow land. Fallow land means since last 4-5 years, agriculture is not happening, but still comes under the agriculture purpose only. So these two combined, put together, it is around 54% of the total land is for agriculture. And then the second one, of course, is the wastelands, basically hilly terrains and the desert region. So hardly 14.23% of the land is available for the non-agricultural purposes, which is including residential purpose. It may be including for railways, roadways, and also for the industrial purpose. So hardly we do have around 2 to 3% of the percentage of land is available for industrial purpose. Now, even in that, if you see, almost 60 to 70% of the land has been mainly taken care by the large industries or large enterprises or the industrial parks. So this land became very scarce for the MSMEs. So one, it is very expensive, even if the land is available, especially when we are talking about urban and semi-urban areas. And also even in some of the rural areas, it is very expensive. The second one is, if you see the recent estimates states that more than 50% of the MSMEs were established in the agricultural lands. So that is again a major challenge, because the revenue department will, at any time can come and warn, and they may close the MSMEs because they were established in the agricultural land and they were not converted to a commercial purpose. In fact, we can also visible many of the MSMEs are in residential areas also, and a lot of complaints do come from the local residents. So these are some of the some of the issues faced because of lack of land availability. So that is one of the reason why the industrial infrastructure corporations of different states are now mapping the available land for the MSMEs, especially so that they can establish some industrial parks with the amenities. So these are some of the challenges faced by the MSMEs. One is lack of availability of proper land. That is one thing. The second one is, even sometimes if land is available, it is the they have to search for whether it is an agricultural land or non-agricultural land. And third issue is that if it is an agricultural land, converting that land into a commercial land or for commercial purpose is again sometimes it is very time consuming, and sometimes it is also very expensive. Am I audible now? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Because yeah, hopefully there are no technical issues now. So this is another challenge, in the land. The conversion of land is another major issue. So that is the reason why, as I already informed, we have more than 75 Spurti projects, and also we are taking up many projects now under the Ministry of MSME scheme. So the first and foremost thing that the condition we kept is that the promoters should have a proper land free of all the legal issues, because many a times it was observed that after providing finance, we came to know that there are some legal problems. So the land should be free of such kind of legal issues. We will see. The second one is that we will see whether if it is taken on lease, we are also taking what are the conditions kept in the lease agreement, so that it should be minimum of 15 years of lease. And we will also see whether it is a commercial land or not. That is another thing that we are ensuring. And where is the location of the land. So that is I will tell you one example. When I am working in APITCO, AP Industrial Technical Consultancy Organization. Now, once a chicken shop owner, he came to us and said that, look, I started a very state-of-the-art chicken. He called it as a chicken showroom. So chicken showroom or the chicken shop. And it is such a we are having all the technical machinery, very advanced machinery, and we are maintaining all the sanitization and everything, but still our footfall is very limited. We are unable to reach the break even after the 3 years. So they asked us to conduct a market survey. Now we went there to that particular location, and we observed that there are many people who are traveling and who are coming, stopping their car and purchasing the chicken and the meat. But still, still, if you compare with other chicken shops in other areas, definitely their footfall is very less. So then we started, trying to understand what are the reasons why that particular location, though it is on the main road, though he has a very good reputation among the people whom we interviewed, some of the buyers, but in spite of that, his marketing is not picking up. So when we went, in the surrounding areas, when we tried to understand the issues, then we came to know that the 80% of the surrounding areas, the people are total vegetarians. So in that particular locality, so then we understood the locational advantages also. So this is again another important thing that we are seeing, that whether there are some locational advantages for that particular unit or for that particular MSME or not, because every location, maybe they are having amenities, maybe they are having it is a commercial land, but there are some locational disadvantages are there, like this, that they don't have any the market is very far off from that place, or the railways or roadways are the road facilities or railway facilities are very far off, and so that it will increase the cost of production. So these kind of things. So locational advantages also we started assessing before approving any project. So this is that is the reason why mapping of land in any region, in any particular area, is very much important for planning of MSME enterprises, establishment of MSME enterprises. So one of the most important resource, especially in countries like India, where land is very scarce, so mapping of land is the most important crucial factor. So the second physical resource is water. Water is again, as I know, there are 4 types of usage, water usage in India: agricultural usage, industrial usage, household, environmental activities. And the fifth one, which is now fast picking up, is definitely recreational activities. So in fact, 10% of the total water is now utilized for the recreational purposes, and hospitality industry also. So that is the reason why water also became very scarce now. And at the country level, if you see, we have no adequate water, but again there are regional imbalances. Even within the state, among the districts there are imbalances, and similarly among the states, if you see, there are many fights between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. There is a Kaveri dispute. Where between Andhra and Telangana, we have a Krishna and Godavari water sharing dispute. So everywhere there are disputes related to the water. So this is again posing a problem for MSMEs. So again, there are 2 types of water which is available for MSMEs. One which is supplied by the municipalities or the panchayats, or the second one is the underground water. So these are only the 2 sources of getting the water for MSMEs. Now this is again another area where we started mapping that when we are planning for any MSME industrial parks or establishment of MSMEs in a particular region. So we are also assessing whether, first of all, whether the water is available, whether rivers and ponds are nearby. The second one is that if they are not nearby, at least if underground water plentifully available or not. That is one aspect. And the second aspect, again, we are checking now is that, again, even if the water is available in some places, the problem is that, there is a lot of calcium or a lot of total dissolved solids. So if the water is having such kind of particles in that are present in the water, again their usability, their treatment itself is so expensive that the production cost will increase. So that is the reason why again we have to test the water whether it is really usable by the industry or not. So that is another important thing. The water may not be a major resource for the service based enterprises or for the trading enterprises, but definitely it is very important for the manufacturing industry, especially when we are talking about packaged drinking water or the food processing or the aquaculture or textiles. These are some of the sectors which are very water intensive. So whenever, in fact, we plan to establish some mega food parks also. I prepared detailed project reports for mega food park in 2-3 areas, and also mega textiles parks. So one of the main the resource that we will check before finalizing a particular land is whether the water is available, one, and the second is which water. Is it they have to depend on the municipal water or the underground water available or not. The third aspect that we will check into that is that we will test the water and see whether it is matching the standards required by that particular industry or not. So these are some of the areas of concern which needs to be mapped as far as water as resource is concerned. So this is the second one. And third, of course, the most crucial resource which is required, physical resource which is required by the MSMEs, is definitely energy. Now, energy, again, maybe, it varies. It may be the power, definitely power requirement is more for most of the MSMEs, but they also require cooking gas, and also they require the petrol or diesel, especially diesel, because in most of the areas power is not sufficient. So again, they have to depend upon the diesel generators. So whether they have the required the facilities for availability of the diesel and petrol. So these are some of the energy resources which are required. So some of the statistics we have taken up, we have identified is that the largest energy source in India, largest energy source definitely is coal, followed by petroleum and traditional biomass. So even if you see the thermal power plants, India is mainly more than 70% of the power plants run on coal only. So according to 2011 census, household level data indicates that only even today 55% of the rural households as well as rural enterprise were covered by the power. Now, especially I'm talking about artisan-based clusters across the country. Now, if you come to more interior parts of UP, Bihar, and even in some parts of Andhra Pradesh also, even today the artisans are not having power, so they are mainly depending upon the alternate sources. Even for namesake, there will be a power. I observed in Panipat carpet cluster, the power shortage is so severe. In fact, in Baduhi also in Uttar Pradesh, so power shortage is so severe that the almost for 70% of their production they have to depend upon the DG sets. So diesel has become the one of the most important power source for them. So this is one of the major reason, again another resource which we need to map while planning for MSME. So whether the power is available or not, other than power, whether the diesel and the LPG connections are available or not. So these are some of the things now we started mapping also. Now again, I want to tell you, insist you one thing again here. When we entered into Jharkhand, when we entered into Jharkhand and we want to introduce some of the Spooty clusters there, we felt that Jharkhand is a power surplus state. If you see the statistics, it shows that the Jharkhand is a power surplus state. So we thought that since Jharkhand is a power surplus state, automatically everywhere power is available, so that we can plan MSMEs wherever we want. But when we entered there, we found that in many areas in the Jharkhand, still there is no power. So again, when we ask them what are the reasons, again, these are the reasons, some of the reasons that they have given. One is that high cost of supply and maintenance. There are some very remote areas, tribal belts in Jharkhand, where we are planned to, establish some bamboo-based enterprises. But the problem is that high cost of supply and maintenance, that they have to erect all the cables, the transformers, and it's so, very expensive that, it is beyond, it is very difficult for the government to, use such kind of resources. The second one is payment defaults. So that is again not only in Jharkhand, it is prevalent in most of the states in India, that the defaults of the they won't pay on time. They will they will take the power, and then they will use the power, and then they won't pay the bills. This is again the case with Baduhi carpet cluster, which we observed in UP when I'm working there. So they won't pay the bills on time. So that is the reason why they will come and they will cut the the entire area. They will cut out the power supply. So again, for days together, sometimes months together, they will depend upon the DG sets. The third one is electricity theft and poor infrastructure. I'm very sorry to say, if you go to the Panipat and especially in villages and you see the carpet industry, wherever you go, you can see the power pilferage, power theft. This is very common now. So that is again, it is infuriated the concerned authorities, and they totally stopped supplying the power, only barring the residential areas. They started stopped supplying the power. So that is another problem faced in Jharkhand. Then grid financially unviable. As I already told you that the power grid, establishment of the power grid in that particular region, it is so far off, so remote, that is financially not viable for the government or the private sector to establish any kind of such kind of a power amenities. So these are the four important reasons. This is not pertaining to Jharkhand. This is even now, some of the most advanced states we call industrially advanced states like Haryana and also the UP. These are some of the areas where the power fluctuations, lack of power, and some of the major areas of concern. Now, if you see, the Prime Minister has come, Honorable Prime Minister has come out with a very great idea that we should have one district, one product concept. In fact, today also in Times of India, they covered a lot about one district, one product concept. Now, one of the biggest challenges in ODOP is the energy resources. So there are some districts where the good like if you go to the Kanpur leather is one of the most famous. Kanpur leather cluster is a benchmark cluster across the at the international level. But again, the problem is that to develop in especially in villages in and around Kanpur, there are many leather based MSMEs, especially in the handicraft sector. But again, to develop them, energy is a major issue. So that is the reason why now we started mapping the energy also. in terms of power, in terms of diesel availability, in terms of wood and other alternative fuels availability. And now, in fact, Ministry of MSME is also requesting us that wherever possible, try to go for alternative energy. That means like, solar energy, especially we are trying to promote solar energy, and most of the states where such kind of grids are available. So we started mapping the solar grids also, wherever solar grids are available, because standalone, if I buy some solar panels, that doesn't mean that automatically I will get the energy. There should be a solar grid. So we started mapping the presence of solar grid also. So these are some of the issues, and also the backup plans that we planned as far as energy as a resource is concerned. So whenever we are planning for MSMEs, these are the three physical resources which are required. One is land, the second one is water, and third one is energy. So these are the three very crucial physical resources which are required. The next one, of course, is the infrastructure resource, which is very paramount. There are three types of infrastructure typology. If you see, one is public utilities like power, telecommunications, piped water supply, sanitation, sewerage, solid waste, and piped gas. In fact, now one of the most important infrastructure post-pandemic is definitely the availability of internet and mobile network facilities. Without these kind of facilities, it is very difficult, now even for the MSMEs, or even especially for service oriented units also. Like, there are many NGOs who are into training programs. In fact, the organizations like Msme, where I worked, skill based organizations, they are virtually almost nil. Their income is nil in 6 months, because they want to give training programs. Physical training programs are not allowed. But to give virtual training programs, again, the problem is in many rural areas, they don't have that kind of, the bandwidth for Wi-Fi or even for the internet facilities. So this is again is a major infrastructure problem now we are facing. So if you see that public utilities, as I said, power distribution system should be there, telecommunications. So the second one is, of course, they should have roads, major dams, canal works, and drainage. Now, there are many MSME industrial regions, especially if you go to Faridabad, one of the important, MSME sector, whether it be foundry, there are many kind of products which are manufactured in Faridabad industrial area. But if you go to Faridabad industrial area and see, even today, more than 60% of the industrial estates don't have proper roads. Drainage system is so poor. So these are some of the infrastructure bottlenecks that the MSMEs are facing. Then, of course, the railways, the container depots. So these are also equally important for the MSMEs to grow. Now, why Coimbatore and Tirupur are so successful, in promoting the MSMEs and also sustainability of the MSMEs is that they have all these kind of infrastructure amenities. In fact, they have container depots also, though they are very far off from the ports, but still they have their own container depots, so that the material can be exported. So that is some of the, where the infrastructure availability, physical infrastructure availability is good. Definitely those areas have shown a lot of progress when compared to those areas which do not have such kind of infrastructure. So that's what I have written, that rapid industrialization can be observed in states like Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat, where infrastructure is proper. Again, within the state, you can also observe that the regional imbalances again. So especially if you go to the rural areas, deep rural areas, again, that kind of infrastructure is not visible. So many times the industrial parks, MSME parks, which were planned by the state governments, became a big failure in the backward districts because of lack of infrastructure. Or even if the infrastructure is available, it comes at a very higher price. So MSMEs incurred severe losses, and they face a lot of problems. In fact, one of the best example is that pharma cluster in Dehradun. So when the Uttarakhand has been separated and it was formed as a separate state, and and they started giving many tax incentives, the pharma people, pharma MSMEs from Indore, from Hyderabad, started establishing their units in the Dehradun, in and around Dehradun. But one of the major problems that they faced is lack of proper infrastructure, as it is a hilly region. And then, of course, the initial GST, which has been the tax exemptions which have given later have been taken out. So because of this lack of infrastructure and because of these issues, now if you see the Dehradun pharma cluster is in virtually, I won't say it is defunct, but many MSMEs have been closed down. So this is again, as I said, these kind of regional imbalances as far as infrastructure is concerned is also hampering the growth of MSMEs. So that is the reason why mapping of such physical infrastructure before planning of any MSMEs is very important. Otherwise it is very difficult for them to sustain and also to compete with the large enterprises. So this is about, in brief, about the infrastructure resources are concerned. Then, of course, human resources, which is very crucial for not only for the manufacturing enterprises and also for the trading, or for even for the service based units also. Because today, if you see, there are many educated unemployed youth available, there is no doubt about it. But when we are talking about the experienced or skilled professionals, it is becoming very scarce. Even today we are also searching for people, because we are rapidly expanding, we are having enough projects, but now we are unable to get the kind of skilled resources which are required for us, especially related to the MSME development and cluster development. So we are also facing a lot of issues related to the skill. So in spite of we do having a National Skill Development Corporation, a separate scheme called Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Yojana, and having many institutions for skill development program, still, if you compare with many of the developed countries, still we dare to say that our skill development total policy is still at a nascent stage. That is what many reports always confirm also. So this is again a major area of concern. On one side, we do have many skill-based training institutions, and on another side we have MSME sector or the industrial sector, and matchmaking is not happening in many areas. With the exception, now suppose again I will take Coimbatore as one of the benchmark area, where the institutions which are available there, be it engineering colleges, there is a group of institutions called PSG group of institutions in Coimbatore. So be it an engineering colleges, be it ITI, or be it the technical institutions, they discuss regularly with the industry, with the MSMEs, and try to understand their requirements, and accordingly they are also formulating or reformulating their curriculum. So this kind of industry institutional linkage, which is happening only where it is happening, the MSME sector is growing rapidly, and where it is not happening and where the skill sets are lacking, definitely they are unable to compete with these kind of benchmark clusters. So that is what I want to tell. Again, if you see the Rajkot Foundry, you have enough institutions which do have skill training programs for them, and that is the reason why today Rajkot Foundry is also becoming a benchmark cluster. So like Coimbatore we do have. But if you go to again, I'm sorry to say, about Uttar Pradesh or Bihar, we do have these kind of problems, where the skilled manpower is still not available, and there is a reluctancy also. Again, another issue is that reluctancy among the people to gain new skill sets. They are very scared. If you want to impart some advanced machinery, they are very apprehensive to adopt that kind of situation. They say that machinery aa gaya to mera livelihood kharab ho jayega, or they feel that they shock lagega. So there are many apprehensions among the people even to upgrade their skill sets. So this is again a problem where many of programs were failed, skill development programs. So that is the reason why initially now what we are doing is that we are sensitizing the local areas, especially in clusters, that what are the advantages of they developing or upscaling their skill sets. Then we are conducting the skill development programs. So first of all, mapping of lack of skill sets is one. The second one is mapping of their apprehensions is very important, which is lacking in most of the areas. So blindly, if we go on organizing skill development programs and without understanding without motivating the local artisans or the workers properly, and even if you are conduct the training programs or skill development programs, they may not be successful, and that is happening in most of the places. So this is where we have to map the what do you call, the attitude of the artisans and workers also, and we need to see a paradigm shift among them, so that they need to understand that they have to upgrade their skill sets, then only they can survive in this competitive world. So mapping of skill sets of the workers, artisans, even for that matter managers, senior managers, or the promoters, which is very much required. Now, again, I want to tell you, emphasize that it is not only the skill development is not confined to some technology. Now, if you see, most of the entrepreneurs in India do not have entrepreneurial skills. They do not have financial management skills. They do not have marketing skills. Now, in fact, if you see there is a lot of the suicide rate is increasing even in the nursing homes and in hospitals also, because many of the doctors are coming out and starting their nursing homes. They're unable to manage and they are committing suicide. Now, that is one of the reasons why now they are introducing EDP program, entrepreneurship development program, for doctors also. So the technocrats automatically doesn't mean that they will become good entrepreneurs. So there are a lot of gaps in entrepreneurial skills and financial management skills and marketing management skills. I'm not only talking about the technical skills. So again, in some areas or in some regions where a lot of emphasis was given to the skill development programs, and they are not concentrating on this kind of soft skills or life skills also. So these are some of the issues which have to be mapped, while establishment or sustainability of the MSMEs as far as human resources are concerned. And there are three types which normally in developed countries they follow. One is that community driven. That means local associations will take care of, or the local, especially the local associations or the local special purpose vehicles. They will understand, they will map the resource requirements related to skill, and then they will inform to the concerned government institutions or skill development institutions, look, these are the areas of concern where we need some training programs. So that is called community driven. The second one is regional oriented. So we are also requesting the district industry center at district level or district rural development agencies also to coordinate with the different development institutions, promotional agencies, so as to improve the skill sets of the industrial sector in that particular region or the district. Of course, the third one is that, the entrepreneur focused, as I already informed you, the skill set doesn't mean that only skill development programs, but the skill sets means, even the soft skills or the entrepreneurial skills also need to be improved. And the fourth and most important thing is that continuous learning, which is not happening in most parts of the country. That means we will give one or two skill development programs to a particular worker or a particular promoter, and we feel that now he will become sustainable. So that should not be the case. Once we have given a training program, it should be followed by the handholding, and then at least periodically they should upgrade. We should ensure that they will upgrade the skill sets. So this continuous learning should be important among the entrepreneurs as well as among the workers. So these are some of the tools to improve the skill sets and capabilities of the MSME enterprises. So resource mapping of these skill sets, once again, I want to emphasize that should not confine to a particular area or a particular region or a particular sector, but it should be holistic approach, not only taking care of the technical aspects, but also taking care of the entrepreneurial aspects. The next one is, of course, the financial resources, which as a chartered accountants, much better than me, the kind of financial requirements that the MSMEs require. Of course, definitely MSMEs are having enough issues related to the finance, and normally bankers are not willing to provide finance to, especially I'm not talking about medium enterprises, but when we are talking to small and micro enterprises, they have many apprehensions, and reasons may be many. Again, that's what I want to tell. Now we need to understand, normally we call it as root cause analysis. We do what is the root, what is the basic issue why bankers are not financing the SMEs in many parts of the country. Is it because the enterprises do not have do not maintain the required documentation as required by the bank? One, is it because there is a number of defaulters among the MSMEs? The second one. The third one, which we normally map, is that do the bank managers or do these bankers do have awareness among that particular sector or about the MSMEs? Because the problem is that the bankers always tend to finance large and medium enterprises who are already doing well and having very good transactions, very good financial resources. So they will always tend to support these kind of enterprises. So but when it comes to the SMEs, even they do not have possess the the kind of loan products they require. Also, the bank managers are not aware of. And many of the bank managers, even today, in spite of so much of awareness programs conducted, they, you can also conduct, as an ICAI, I always request, you can also conduct a survey and understand the awareness among the bankers about various public support schemes. Many bankers, in fact, when I visited, at least 30 to 40% of the bankers doesn't know what is a CGTMSE, credit guarantee scheme, what is a credit limited capital subsidy scheme, what is Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program. So there are many schemes which are not aware of by the bankers themselves, let alone the MSMEs. So when the bankers themselves doesn't know, the MSMEs, the awareness among the MSMEs is much poorer. So the first and foremost activity that we do normally when we enter into any MSME based clusters in India is that, first we will conduct an awareness program on these kind of public support schemes by inviting both the demand side and supply side. That means the supply side means the bankers and also the artisans or the entrepreneurs. And then we will conduct an awareness program by inviting these DIC, the Khadi board, MSMEs, and then try to impart knowledge for both demand side and supply side. So this is one of the important things we are doing among the MSME clusters across the country. And then we are hiring some of the financial consultants who has having a little bit of not 100% commercially oriented, having some social inclination also, because MSMEs cannot afford to give 20,000 or 30,000 as for preparing of a business plan. So some socially inclined chartered accountants we are also identifying, and we will pay them a nominal amount of 3,000 to 4,000 rupees, who started preparing business plans as per the requirement of the scheme and also as per the requirement of the bank, and started helping the MSMEs in obtaining the loans and grants. So here I want to tell, the main thing I want to tell you is that whenever we are talking about the resource, financial resource, doesn't mean that we need to map only the demand side. That means we will go and map the enterprises and ask them what kind of problems that they are facing. So this is what is happening in most of the the surveys. They are asking the demand side what kind of issues that they are facing, why they are not getting the finances. But from the supply side also we need to map what kind of problems faced by the bankers. Is it lack of awareness among themselves, among them, about the various schemes or various kinds of loan products, or they are genuinely not inclined, not interested to give, they are not interested to finance the labor intensive, especially labor intensive enterprises or sectors. Like if you take the brick industry. Now, brick industry is one of the least preferred industry by the bankers, because if it is a rice mill, even if it defaults, they can sell off the assets and they can get back at least a part of their amount. But when we are talking about a labor intensive industry like handicrafts or a brick industry or handlooms, where one fine day the enterprise can entrepreneur can close down his unit and he can leave, and there will not be any capital assets to sell off by the bank and get back their money. So such kind of labor intensive units are very difficult. The bankers have very huge reservations about helping these kind of capital intensive, labor intensive projects. So this is again a major challenge when we are talking about the bankers. So again, what we are doing now in most of the clusters is that in most of the handicraft clusters is that we are trying to promote NBFCs, non-banking financial companies, and also the microfinance institutions, because the requirement is very limited, 50,000, 1 lakh at the most. And also we are trying to promote Mudra now. So in Mudra also among the micro, I'm talking about micro enterprises especially. So we are trying to promote Mudra. We are trying to promote microfinancial institutions and NBFCs. But again, the problem definitely with the MFIs and NBFCs is that their interest rates are somewhat high when compared to the nationalized banks. So again, we need to map really whether that particular enterprises or that particular the sector can afford that kind of interest rates or not, or else we are negotiating with the MFIs and the NBFCs either to reduce the interest rates or to come out with a separate kind of loan products. So these are some of the initiatives and some of the activities that we are doing after mapping of the financial resources, especially with the MSMEs. Now, if you come to the next stage, I'm talking about the banking sector. Now, other than the banking sector, there are some multilateral funding agencies available like World Bank. We have European Union. There is a German development corporation called GAZ. And of course, we as FMC, we all worked in United Nations Industrial Development Organization. Similarly, there is an UNDP, United Nations Development Program. So all these multilateral funding agencies are also financing the MSMEs. But of course, most of them will finance on theme based. Like, UNDP now started financing the MSMEs related to energy. So if they want to adopt any energy efficiency measures, they are going to finance. Similarly, GAZ will start financing MSMEs where there are some pollution related issues are there. Similarly, we are doing a lot of projects under EU. So we are trying to promote MSME enterprises in bamboo sector. So they are confining themselves to certain sectors. So we need to map these kind of multilateral funding agencies, what kind of facilities that they want to extend to the MSMEs. This is a very important task that I humbly request ICAI to take up. Especially the MSME wing of ICAI, because being a prestigious institute, you can also contact these kind of all the multilateral funding agencies and try to assess what kind of requirements are there for the MSMEs, and trying to link them, talk to these multilateral funding agencies and trying to link them or matchmaking. And also you can also map these multilateral funding agencies, what kind of interventions that they are going to finance for the MSMEs. Of course, at individual unit level, at individual consultancy level, we are doing it, but we have our own limited resources. Most of the time we are into implementation part. So, but we cannot go into the development or policy making part. So that is the reason area where I request the ICAI has to take care that, how to match make, how to improve the policy level of these multilateral funding agencies. You can discuss with these multilateral funding agencies and match make the requirements of the MSMEs, especially the artisan clusters or the micro enterprise sector. So this is another area which I would like to stress upon. And of course, in the developed countries, if you see, some of the financial resources are NRIs. Even if you go to Kerala, is a good model where NRIs are also funding some of the MSMEs. So rich NRIs like Lulu Group is there. So they are also funding many food-based enterprises, so that it is like their backward integration to them. So similarly, there are private donors available. Similarly, crowdfunding, off-late crowdfunding becoming a major important part, especially in countries like Italy, Denmark. In these places, crowdfunding is also helping the MSMEs. Of course, in India, still it is at a very nascent stage. We are trying to map some of the important NRIs, important private donors. Especially we are trying to link the donors. Means again, maybe they are donating, but at the same time they also they want to get some indirect benefit out of it. So we are trying to link them as a backward or forward integration to the MSMEs, which we are also doing for, like, we recently we identified some 3-4 international designers, and we said that, look, you why can't you donate a part, some of your funds to these particular artisan-based clusters, so that when they make their products, they will use your logo, and they will also give you at subsidized price. So they started, donating the or providing the funds to these, some of the artisan-based clusters. That the another matchmaking that we did between these private owners and also with the MSME. So we need to map the some of the very prominent NRIs and also the private owners. Of course, crowdfunding as of now in India is mainly confined to some health-related people who are suffering from terminal diseases like that. Some crowdfunding we are seeing, but MSME development part, crowdfunding is still virtually zero in India. Maybe it may pick up in future, in recent future, it may pick up the momentum. So when we are talking about the mapping of financial resources, we should not confine ourselves to the leveraging of bank resources. It may be multilateral funding agencies, it may be private donors, it may be NRIs, it may be crowdfunding also now. So this is about the financial resources, but I think I have given a table also, the financial sources which are available in India. One is domestic. Now, if you see in the domestic also, we have institutional financial resources, and the second one is non-institutional financial resources. So in institutional financial resources, domestic, you can see there are many government agencies like Ministry of MSME, Ministry of Textiles, Ministry of Food Processing. They are also providing finance to the MSMEs. Of course, directly they are not giving money to the MSMEs. They may give it through some subsidy schemes or some schemes like, and also they will appoint some nodal agencies. We are also one of the nodal agency like that. There is a Khadi Commission, there is a NABARD, there are many promotional agencies. Through them, the government is started giving finance to the MSMEs. Of course, banks, one of the most important entities of providing finance. Then we have non-banking financial companies. Then we have microfinancial institutions. So this is domestic institutional part. Now, if you see domestic non-institutional part, of course, money lenders, especially in micro enterprises and also in artisan-based units, money lenders are playing the most prominent role, unfortunately, with the very high interest rates. Now, if you ask me what is the percentage of the micro and artisan-based enterprises depending upon the money lenders, is more than 50%. In fact, I dare to say that it is more than 60%. So that is the problem that we are facing. So money lenders are playing a crucial role in financing of the artisan micro enterprise sector, to some extent even small enterprises also. Then of course traders. The traders, if you go to most of the micro enterprise and artisan based clusters, they will have buyback facility. So they will provide all the raw material, everything to the artisan or to the micro enterprise, and they will buy it back. So in that way, the direct selling is, even today, 90% of the artisan clusters are depending upon the traders for their, marketing and also for their financial resources. So that is another problem. But still, traders plays a very crucial role as of now in the spectrum of the financial sources. And of course, friends and relatives. So again, if you see most of the micro enterprises, if you go and ask, whenever we do the survey, they will say 50% of the people say either they're depending upon the money lenders or they are taking loan from their friends and relatives. So this is a non-institutional domestic resources for finance. Now, when we go to the foreign, then definitely, as I said, we have institutional framework, like, we have World Bank, we have International Monetary Fund. There are some multinational banks which are also financing MSMEs, of course, to very limited extent. And then, as I said, development agencies like UNIDO, like, there is a German Development Corporation, there's a World Bank, as I said, there are many GIZ, there are many foreign development agencies which are also financing the MSMEs. But as I said, they are only confining to a particular sectors or only a particular area like energy efficiency or pollution control, like that. Only a part of the thing they are financing. Of course, as I said, foreign non-institutional, again, as I said, non-resident Indians, private donors, and crowdfunding. So these are some of the, this is the financial sources that we could have at macro level, we could able to map in India, prevailing in India, except crowdfunding, as I said, virtually nil, financing the MSMEs. So, so one more thing I want to tell you, as far as the mapping is concerned, that's what I have given. In fact, I highlighted it in red also. Mapping of financial resources should not only target presence of banks and other financial institutions, but also presence of relevant sector area specific loan products, the competencies and commitment level among the officials of such institutions. Why I want to tell you is that the type of loan required may vary from sector to sector also. For example, if you take pharma sector, pharma MSMEs, they have to adopt, if they want to export, they are supposed to adopt GMP practices, that is called good manufacturing practices. Now, to adopt GMP, they don't have a proper loan structure among any banks. So 4 years back, we requested State Bank of India to come out with a specific loan product so that they can finance only the GMP part. But otherwise, bankers will say, why should I, you want to adopt a good manufacturing practice. For that, if you are asking us loan, we do not have it. We provide some term loan, we provide some working capital loan. But for GMP practice, if you ask us, we do not have any loan product. So similarly, every sector will have their own some specific issues which they need to follow. If you go to food processing sector, again, they need to go for FASI certification. If that is a mandatory thing. So FASSI certification is mandatory. Similarly, if you go to jewelry sector, now Bureau of Indian Standards made it mandatory that they have to follow, they have to get the BIS certification, and hallmarking is mandatory now for jewelry. So again, these kind of sectors require a different kind of loan products. Like jewelry may want to have a loan to adopt the hallmarking facility. So that they have to get a certification. So the bankers need to come out with a loan product for jewelry sector, separate loan product. Similarly, if you go to food processing, to obtain FASI certification, the bankers have to come out with a new type of product. So these are again sector specific loan products which need to be the bankers need to come out with such kind of loan products. And in fact, we are also requesting the government of India, especially the finance ministry, also to suggest the banks to come out such kind of loan products. Similarly, as I said previously also, the capabilities, when we are mapping the resources of the banks, I'm not talking about the banks. I'm talking about the resources in terms of their managers, in terms of their field level officials. So if they are not capacitated, if they do not know what is a CGTS MSc or what is a PMAGP scheme, then definitely that scheme is bound to fail in that particular region. So the mapping of capabilities of these particular financial institutions, officials, that is very important in order to sustain any kind of schemes or loan products. Similarly, mapping of MSMEs in terms of credit fitness and awareness about various public support schemes is essential. As I said, most of the MSMEs are not credit fit, not loan fit. They do not have KYC documents. There is no need for me to tell you. I hope you all know that. As a chartered accountant, you must be trying to getting loans for MSMEs. So most of the times, especially micro enterprises or artisan sector, they do not have KYC documents. They do not have balance sheets. They do not maintain audited balance sheets. Even if they maintain balance sheets also, they won't show. They will show only 20% or 10% of the total transactions, and remaining 80% everything they will do on cash. But they will say, when they go to the bank, they say that I have 10 crores turnover, sir, why you are giving a less loan? But if you see their balance sheets, audited balance sheets or audited statements, it totally reflects, gives a different scenario. So they are not credit fit. They are not aware of the kind of the documentation that the bankers require. So that is the reason why we need to map the enterprises in terms of their credit fitness and their understanding about the various schemes. So this is about the financial resources and their mapping. Of course, the next one definitely is the raw material, which is very much required for, especially I'm talking about the manufacturing enterprises. Raw material is one of the most important aspect, and without raw material, and again, availability of raw material as nearer as possible to the MSMEs is very important. Again, it may lead to higher cost of production. And that is what, if you see the last sentence, that was, that's why I have given an example. Now, if you see that the textiles, especially ready-made garment sector in Surat and ready-made garment sector in Telangana are in nearby Hyderabad. So there is a huge difference, because in Surat, you have the entire backward integration. So you have all the spinning mills, the yarn is available locally. So definitely the cost of production is so less in in Surat and in Ahmedabad, in those regions, compared to those garment sector in Telangana, or in for that matter in Odisha or in other places. So this is a huge cost difference. Similarly, if you see silk, now silk is mainly made especially in Karnataka. 80% of the silk comes from Karnataka only. So definitely they have a the cost advantage when compared to the other states. So based on the raw material also, if you see, most of the clusters were formed. That is what I have given in my second sentence. Now if you see, some of the MSME clusters were formed because of the availability of the raw material, like Makrana marble in Rajasthan. So because availability of marble is there, so if you see, it is a huge industry there. Similarly, if you go to Rajasthan or in Odisha, you can find so many stone carving clusters because that kind of stone is available. Similarly, for making a wooden toys, now Honorable Prime Minister is now promoting that India should have its own toy clusters. Why should we depend upon the China? So again, if you want to make especially the wooden toys, so that the wood which is required to make a very strong toys are available only in certain places, like in Chennapatna in Karnataka, or Kundapalli in AP. So these kind of some of the clusters which were formed mainly because the raw material available locally. So that is another thing that we need to map what kind of raw materials are required in a particular are present in the particular region, and accordingly we have to suggest the MSMEs. So that is in fact one of the concept of ODOP, one district one product program also, because of the availability of the raw material that particular district is having that particular product. So that is one of the components of the ODOP scheme also. Now, another example I want to give you is that Ministry of Food Processing and Industries, now they have a huge scheme called Mega Food Park scheme. Now, it's a mega food park. Now, whenever they are establishing, there are now more than 50 mega food parks across the country. Now, what first they will do is that they will map the raw material, availability of horticulture and agricultural resources in a particular region, and accordingly they will plan for the kind of enterprises have to be MSME enterprises have to be set up, and then they will prepare a detailed project report based on that and what kind of infrastructure, common facilities that they require. So first, the and foremost thing in this mega food park is identification of the agri and horticulture produce raw materials available, and based on that suggesting the forward integration part. So that is the reason that shows the importance of a raw material in establishment of the enterprises. So this is some of the important points, aspects as far as raw material is concerned. So definitely whenever we want to establish plan for MSME parks or MSME agglomerations or MSME clusters, one of the most important thing is that how far the raw material available. If raw material is very far off, definitely they are going to forego the cost advantage. So in that case, how to get that kind of raw material at a lower price. So for that, what we are now doing is that now in some of the clusters where raw material is at a very far off locations, now we are promoting a raw material banker concept, wherein some 40-50 micro enterprises will in bulk they will purchase raw material at a lower price. When we are buying in bulk, definitely will have better bargaining power. So we are trying to promote some groups which we call them as consortia, raw material consortia. So we are trying to promote raw material consortia in some of the clusters where raw material is not available locally. So these raw material consortia will estimate the requirement of the entire group, and then they will prepare a plan, and then they will buy it at bulk from the source point, and then they will sell it to their members at a lower cost, lower price. So that is one of the important intervention that has been undertaken under the cluster development program. So that is at raw material consortia. So this shows the importance of these kind of framing of consortia, special purpose vehicles for purchase of raw material, shows how important raw material is in cutting down the costs. Because as of now, MSMEs have to compete with China, have to compete with large enterprises, and one of the most important cost factor for manufacturing enterprises is the raw material. So that is the reason why mapping of raw material is the most important aspect in development of MSMEs. And of course, as I already informed all of you that the promotional institutions play a very important role. Initially, we never thought of these particular institutions as a resource. So we thought that it is okay. It is also required in the MSME ecosystem, but we never mapped it as a resource. But the rightly said by the government of India, and also if we go to most of the developed countries, they definitely consider these promotional institutions as resources. Because I will tell you, and that is the reason why I think we have also taken up a topic called institutional mechanism also. Now, institutions play a very crucial role in development of the MSME sector in India. So again, as I said, like in the bank managers, our bankers here also, I'm not talking about resource means presence or presence of a particular promotional institution. But again, in that promotional institution, whether officials are having proper knowledge or not, awareness about the MSME sector or not, awareness about that particular schemes or not, and they are committed enough or not. So this is the mapping now. Some of the state governments like Karnataka, like Maharashtra, they are taking up. In fact, they are requesting us to map there. In fact, when we went to Ethiopia, one of the important thing that I did almost for 1.5 months, I visited all the state government and central level institutions and mapped the number, not only the number of officials available, but also their capabilities and also their commitment levels. So these are some of the aspects that we have mapped in these promotional institutions, which is very crucial, because these promotional institutions play a crucial role not only in ideating an MSME enterprises in the particular region, but also in providing them skill development programs, in providing them finance, in handholding them for their sustainability. So unless and until these the promotional institutions officials are not capacitated enough, they are unable to do justification, which is happening now in most of the states. And again, I always take the example of Tamil Nadu here. The kind of the capabilities that you can see in the director of industries, or in the small industries development corporation, or in the industry infrastructure development corporation. You go and ask, the kind of you can see the awareness level among them. These officials about the MSMEs is amazing. In fact, when I'm taking one of the training program, skill development training program for the SPVs there, the first time in my life I saw one principal secretary came. He took 1.5 hour session to the SPVs in local language about the value chain analysis. So that kind of commitment among the institutions and officials and bureaucrats, which very rarely I come across in other states, which I'm really sorry to say. So this is again, the what I mean to say is that the commitment level of these resources are very important to develop the MSMEs. And we are also having some sector specific institutions, like we do have Indian Institute of Carpet Technology. We have, for coir, we have Central Coir Research Institute. For silk, we have Central Silk Technology Research Institute and Central Silk Board. So every sector, there is a Central Food Technology Research Institute in Mysore for food processing. So there are many technical institutions which are available. Now, again, another problem that we are facing, be it chartered accountants, be it with the technical institutions, is that affordability by the MSMEs. Now, many a times I try to link these technical institutions with the MSMEs in clusters, but the kind of amount that they are asking to provide some technology, unable to afford to the MSMEs. So again, what we are requesting the government is that either that they should reduce their cost for the MSMEs, or let the government bear a part of that as a grant. Or as a third one, we are also asking a group of the enterprises to adopt the technology, to buy and adopt that particular technology. So affordability of these technical institutions is one problem, and the second one is that they need to understand, the technical institutions are unable to understand the requirement of the MSMEs. MSMEs in foundry cluster in Coimbatore, the kind of requirements or the kind of technology that they are following may be different totally from Rajkot. So there are many technologies available in foundry sector also. So there is an induction furnace technology, and there is a pyrometallurgy technology. There are many technologies available. So we cannot consider all these technologies at one, as a single entity. So again, each one may require different kind of loan products or different kind of amounts may require. So, and also the technology may differ from that particular area to area. So these technical institutions are unable to assess the local requirements and unable to provide proper services to them. And the same the case, and I'm also talking about the various service providers, including the chartered accountants and the designers, that we need to understand that the MSMEs, especially micro and small enterprises, their requirements may not be at par with the large enterprises or medium enterprises. They may not be in a position to pay you 30 or 40,000 or in lakhs, but still they require your services. That is the reason why, again, as I said, we are linking socially inclined chartered accountants with many of the MSME based clusters also, because where they are not only seeing the profit as a motive, but also want to help, genuinely want to help the MSMEs by taking a less amount, less fees in preparing the business plans or in preparing their audited statements. So these are some of the issues, not only the availability of these promotional institutions or the service providers like chartered accountants or the designers or some lead consultants. There are many service providers which are required by the MSMEs. One is their affordability. MSMEs are unable to afford them. The second one is the compatibility, that the designers, the chartered accountants, or the other service providers unable to properly assess the requirements of the MSMEs, and there is a mismatch between what they want to offer and what the enterprises require. So this is again we are trying to map these kind of disparities, these kind of the inequilibrium which exists between the demand side and the service side. So that is another important issue, and these kind of resources are equally important, like land or the finance or the the skill sets of workers. The presence of promotional institutions and service providers are equally, or rather if I say more important, for development of MSME sector. So similarly, they also need we also map machinery and machinery suppliers also. Now machinery suppliers again is a major issue in some of the MSMEs present. So suppose if you see, most of the machinery clusters in India are present either in Gujarat or in Tamil Nadu. So most of the machinery, you take textiles, we take bamboo, any kind of sector, the machinery mainly comes from 3-4 states. Now, whereas the MSMEs in UP, MSMEs in Bihar, MSMEs in AP, they're all depending upon the machinery from these particular states. So we are trying to map these machinery suppliers, requesting them to have at least a local branch in these major areas of MSME concentration, so that they should not every time go all the way to Gujarat, Surat, or to the Salem in Tamil Nadu and to buy them, because transportation cost is so high. Not only transportation cost of the machinery, but even after sales service, the machinery maintenance. Every time, whenever there is a breakdown in our Dumka cluster in Jharkhand, every time the person has to come from the Nagpur, from Maharashtra. So, we are requesting the machinery supplier to have a branch, because there are so many people who are going to utilize their services in that particular cluster. So why can't they have a branch at Dumka? So these are some of the requests, interventions that we are trying to link these machinery suppliers with the cluster, so that the production costs or maintenance costs will come down. So mapping of the machinery suppliers, sector specific machinery suppliers, of course, it was taken care to some extent by the Khadi and Village Industries Commission, but mainly they are taking care of their rural enterprise clusters or Khadi enterprises. But mapping of machinery of pharma, engineering, MSMEs won't confine it to a particular sector. So MSMEs are there in all the sectors. So mapping of sector specific machinery suppliers is one of the most important thing, because it's a very important resource for the development of the MSMEs. So that is what I want to tell, is that the resources, I always felt that till 5 years back, machine material now has grown to enormous proportion of various resources now, and especially I do accept that the service providers and the promotional institutions, their resources plays most important role, and the capacities of these institutions and service providers is also equally important. Their affordability is equally important for development of the MSMEs. So this is about the promotional institutions, and of course I have given highlighted two sentences. Mapping of any promotional institutions and service providers only in terms of their presence, but it should also happen in terms of their capabilities and and their understanding about the end user requirements. That is very important. And matchmaking of industry institutional linkage is essential for sustainability of the MSME sector. So unless and until we won't identify the technical institutions and then matchmaking with the industry requirements, if it is not happening, then where is the point of having these technical institutions? Today we have Indian Institute of Chemical Technology in Hyderabad, and also they have branches in many of the states. But how far these Indian Institute of Chemical Technology services were utilized by the pharma sector? How far Indian Institute of Carpet Technology services were utilized by the carpet sector? I should not name some of the technical institutions. If you go to that MSME sector and ask, even if you utter their name, they will not. They will ask you to leave because they were so fed up. This is what is happening now with the MSME sector, because again some of the technical institutions are inclined to help the larger medium enterprises, where because most of the technical institutions also became now self-sustainable. So wherever they have funds, they will get more funds. They are trying to help them. So which is again annoying the MSME. So that is where again we are requesting the government to intervene and also try to provide their services at a subsidized cost, or try the government to bear that kind of cost. So this is about the resources that require. As I said, resources are there are many resources which are required by the MSMEs, and all these resources are equally important for sustainability of MSMEs. Suppose if I have land, suppose if I have finance, and if I know the technology, I can establish an enterprise. But to sustain that enterprise, I may require continuous power. I may require raw material, continuous supply of the raw material at affordable price. I may require promotional institutions to upgrade my skill sets, to improve my machinery, and also to improve the marketing, and also to improve my financial management. So all these things are equally important, and resources cannot confine it to 2 or 3 areas. So this is what I would like to tell. With this, I will conclude my presentation, and I'm open for any Q&A. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions? Vishal sir, are there any questions in chat box?
But one thing I can tell you, sir, with your if we can have a formal MOU with the ICAI, we can also there are some clusters, and we do have across the country. And some of the clusters, like in advanced state like Karnataka, they do have good proper linkages with the chartered accountants, but and also company secretary. But when we are talking about Jharkhand, when we are talking about UP, Bihar, even for that matter, in some parts of Odisha, we are lacking a good pool of chartered accountants, because we need to form producer companies or Section 8 companies, and also prepare these kind of balance sheet audited statements, not only for the individual enterprises and also for the special purpose vehicles. So definitely we can link the your local chapter members with the clusters. So no, but that one thing I want to request the ICAI, the MSME branch, so that we can have a tie up like that, so that we can form up this kind of linkages between the auditing firms and the artisan based clusters.
Yes, sir. Thank you. There is one question. Is the mapping of human resources is the reason for the central government to bring up the new education policy, which emphasizes more on vocational training?
Can you repeat the question, sir?
Is the mapping of human resources is the reason for the central government to bring up the new education policy?
Yes, partly I say yes. One of the reasons, definitely, the central government came out with a new educational policy is this mapping of the skill, and also one of the reasons why they started this National Skill Development Corporation. But unfortunately, the educational policy is still at the implementation stage, and NSDC has its own limitations related to their staff, related to their finance. So again, the industry development always, I always say that industrial development is a state subject. Now we are also requesting different states to come out, formulate their own policies to upgrade the skill sets. One of the important steps taken by the each state is now they started their own IED, means Institute of Entrepreneurship Development. So through that also they are trying to impart skill development. They are, first of all, they are framing the curriculum as per the requirements of the sector or particular region, and then they are trying to impart training programs to the stakeholders. So definitely, yeah, partly I agree that the new educational policy is based upon this kind of resource mapping, especially skill resource mapping, which happened, and also they started National Skill Development Corporation for that reason. But having said that, it is not sufficient. We have huge pool of technical institutions cutting across the country, and matchmaking of these technical institutions with the local requirements of the MSMEs is the most important thing.
Oh, thank you, sir. There is one more question. Is any service charges for obtain loan under MSME state scheme?
Can service charges for a pardon, sir?
Loan under MSME state scheme.
Any scheme you are talking about?
Yes.
They normally, no state government has any scheme to provide any service fees for financial consultants. But what we are trying to do is that under Spurti or under various cluster development schemes, initially, we are trying to for first 20-30 proposals, we through the government are providing the financial consultancy fees to the auditors in preparing the business plans. So once the MSMEs understood the importance, and once they started getting the bank loans, others started investing on their own. So initial triggering, yes, the certain central government schemes are through soft interventions we are doing that. The government is also encouraging us to hire the services of a financial consultant, but of course for a limited period or for a limited budget. So their mandate is that first you take up few prominent and committed entrepreneurs and link them with the local auditing firm, so that they will prepare the business plan, submit to the bank, and they're seeing the success rate of getting the loans. Others may motivate they to invest on their own and hire the services of that auditor. So like that we did in Vijayawada in one of the gold ornament cluster. So initially we invested for 20 people, 20 goldsmiths. They took loans under credit linked capital subsidy scheme, and they paid around 3,000 rupees to that particular auditor and for preparation of the business plan. And in fact, we paid for that. And then after success of these 20, all the 20 got the credit under CLCS scheme. Seeing that at least more than 100 people have utilized his services. Now he is one of the, I cannot take his name, he is one of the most sought after auditor among the jewelry enterprises in Vijayawada. So like that, there are many examples. Even Faridabad, they hired some auditors. Even SIDCO in Tamil Nadu, Small Industries Development Corporation, they have empaneled financial consultants, chartered accountants, as for preparation of the detailed project reports. And other than that, some of the state governments are also hiring the services of auditing firms or individual chartered accountants also in preparation of the detailed project reports. So for some of the schemes, so normally frequently they will come out with the advertisements. We need to empanel ourselves with them.
Okay, so thank you very much. And then there is one more question. How can one get all the benefit at one place for MSME? Name of the website or sort of thing where we can find all the things about MSME, all the schemes, etc.
It's a good question, sir. Normally, we as a consultants, we are compiling all the schemes which are available. In fact, we have, I think, a repository of 100 schemes with us, government schemes, and hopefully we will take up one more presentation on the various schemes which are available for MSMEs. Normally each ministry will have their own website, and in that website they will have their own schemes. But if you ask me, is there any separate website wherein you will get all the national level and state level schemes? So far it is not there. In fact, we are trying. We have a separate website called clusterobservatory.in, wherein we are trying to come out with this kind of repository of schemes. I think within 2 months we may come out with that particular site. In fact, a part of our cluster observatory will be devoted to these schemes, both at national level and state level schemes. So at this stage, we are, in fact, we collected all the information, but we need to, ensure that still that particular scheme exists, or any modifications happened recently. So we are, ensuring all these things, and within 2 months, it will go live. So as of now, you can go to any ministry, and the ministry will have that particular ministry's schemes are available. Like, Ministry of MSME have many schemes. Similarly, Ministry of Food Processing have many schemes. Ministry of Textiles are having schemes. So that particular ministry level schemes are available. But homogeneously, all the schemes are not available in any website. But within 2 months, we will come out with that. But we may have a separate session for that. And as I said, but it is a long presentation of 100 schemes. So each one, even if I take 2 minutes also, it will take 200 minutes. So we do have that kind of repository of schemes. So if you want a website, it may come out within 1 or 2 months. But if you want a separate session about these kind of schemes, yeah, we can deliberate on another session.
Yes, sir. We will definitely want to hear you on that. Sir, there is one interesting question. I obtain a business loan under MSME scheme. Can I use it for personal purpose? If I use, what are the next steps?
Sir, I think you people are better judges than me. See, normally when you take an MSME loan, see, for example, for a working capital loan, especially, we saw many times it was misused. And it was used for personal purpose. In fact, under PMEGP scheme, at least I know I did a survey of some 4 states. Now they took loans under PMEGP scheme and diverted 50% of their funds to construction of their house. So no, that is actually illegal, and it is actually not permitted. We are not supposed to divert even 1 rupee of the fund which we have taken up under MSME development, under MSME scheme. The best example is the PMEGP scheme. So because it is widely used scheme across the country. So under the PMEGP scheme, whatever the loan which was taken, in fact, they are supposed to sign an agreement also that they will not divert any funds. But unfortunately, it is happening. The only thing is that, you can write in the business plan itself that yes, this can be my of manufacturing unit, as well as I am also going for my accommodation purpose. So if you could able to tell that within the business plan, and if the bank approves, then okay. But otherwise, diverting of the funds is not encouraged in any scheme. In fact, most of the schemes will take an undertaking that you are not supposed to divert, and you will be penalized also for that.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. There is another question. Is there is this question is already it is repeated. That it is asking, is there any centralized website where I can got all the benefits which is available at MSc? I think it is covered now. Then
Yes.
request to enlighten on different subsidy. It is another another session, topic also. Enlighten regarding different subsidies. So, can you briefly take up this question?
Enlighten on subsidy schemes.
Different subsidy incentive for MSMEs available from government. I think this is a wide question.
Of course, it's a wide subject, sir. But as you rightly said, I can take. I think I do have some 5 to 10 minutes time. So, it's a right question. I do agree, because there are many schemes. As I already informed, the awareness among the both the demand side and supply side is very poor. As I said, so there are two types of schemes. One is individual enterprise specific schemes are available, and the second one is that group based schemes, like what we are talking about, the cluster based schemes. So group based schemes, one of the best scheme which is available in India is Prime Minister's Employment Generation Program. It is a back end subsidy scheme wherein 35% of the total project cost up to 25 lakhs can be given as the back end subsidy. That means that amount once received from the ministry or from the Khadi and Village Industries Commission, the banker will deposit as a fixed. They will keep it in the fixed deposit, and at the end of second year of successful running of the enterprise, they will deduct it from the loan component of the enterprise applicant. So it is a back-end subsidy scheme which is available, PMEG scheme. And last year there is a 2,000 crore budget earmarked for PMEGP scheme. And there are many chartered accountants who are virtually taking the advantage of this PMEG scheme, and they are preparing detailed business plans under PMEGP scheme. And of course, till 2003, it's like a mafia. I used to run a mafia in my area, that any banker preparing business plan under PMEGP used to come to me. So like that, it should not happen. I won't say, the jokes apart. But yes, but you need to understand the total details of the PMEGP scheme, the kind of application that they do have, and what are the requirements. So one is the PMEGP scheme at the enterprise level, and at the enterprise level there are some other subsidy schemes like credit linked capital subsidy scheme, which is also available. On the capital expenditure, one-time grant of 15% is given. In fact, now we are requesting to increase it up to 30%, but as of now, 15% of the capital expenditure will be given back. That is the second one. Similarly, for credit guarantee scheme is there for only small and micro enterprises. So normally they will give 70 to 100% coverage. Suppose if some MSME, some SME defaults, then the central government under the CGT MSME, it is a trust maintained by the Ministry of MSME, they will give the financial coverage to the bank. So there is a credit guarantee scheme. So these are some of the enterprise specific subsidies are the facilities extended by the government of India. There are some minor schemes like, the area specific schemes like for quality upgradation, for bar coding. There is a special scheme called National Manufacturing Competitiveness Program, NMCP. So under NMCP scheme also, there are sub schemes that suppose if I want to upgrade my quality or I want to adopt the lean management, there is a scheme. If I want to adopt Z now, zero effect, zero defect, there is a scheme now that 70% will be borne by the MSMEDA, means Government of India, remaining 30% has to borne by the enterprise. Similarly, if they want to go for barcoding, similarly there is a scheme called Market Development Assistance. That means suppose if some 10 or 20 enterprises want to attend an international fair in Singapore or in Dubai, so there is a scheme called MDS scheme. So that is there for individual enterprises. So similarly, other ministries are also maintaining such schemes for their own sector, like Ministry of Food Processing. Now they came out with a sort of PMEGP scheme wherein they are also started giving 35% as the back-end subsidy. So like that, some other ministries are also having individual enterprise specific schemes for subsidies. But primarily, most prominent schemes are PMEGP, the Credit Linked Capital Subsidy Scheme, the Credit Guarantee Scheme for small and micro enterprises, and this NMCP, National Manufacturing Competitiveness Program scheme. So these are the four major schemes for enterprise specific. I'm not talking about groups. Now, if they want to go for a group-based scheme, suppose if they want to establish a common facility, which individually they can't afford, or even if they can afford also such kind of huge capacity of the machine, they cannot individually manage. So for such, there are some group-based and cluster-based schemes. Like as I said, there is a Spurti scheme of fund under rejuvenation of traditional industries. This is basically for rural areas and traditional industries. They will give the subsidy. So in this, 90% of any capital assets will be borne by the government of India up to 5 crores. The project cost should be up to 5 crores. 90% grant will be given for capital assets, and 100% grant will be given for soft interventions like training programs, skill development programs, hiring of finance consultant. So these kind of things. So up to maximum of 25 lakhs. So this is a group-based scheme. Similarly, there is another group-based scheme called Micro Small Enterprise Cluster Development Program, MSc CDP, under which 20 crores can be given for any cluster, any manufacturing cluster. It may be pharma, it may be engineering, it may be food processing. Minimum 30 enterprises should be there. They should form a society or a private limited, Section 8 company as a special purpose vehicle, and they can establish any kind of common infrastructure. It may be common facility, or it may be roads and other amenities. So further 10 to 20 crores will be given by the Ministry of MSME. So similarly, there is a mega food park scheme for food processing industry, wherein up to 100 crores can be the project cost. In that, 50 crores will be given by the government of India. And similarly, there is a mega textile scheme, same 100 crores for textile parks, establishment of textile parks. So these are all group-based schemes wherein subsidies were given. So other than this, there are some interest subvention schemes. So like, Khadi Commission started giving interest subvention. That means a part of the interest will be paid by the Khadi Commission for some of their Khadi enterprises or Khadi societies. So this interest subvention scheme is now slowly picking up momentum, and we are requesting to extend it to the other enterprises also. So interest subvention scheme is one upcoming scheme for micro enterprise sector, especially post this pandemic issue. One of the problem is that they are unable to pay 12 to 14% of interest rate. So now for government of India is thinking that the part of the interest will be paid by them, and a part of the interest will be paid by the entrepreneur. So this is an interest subvention scheme which is now fast picking up, and hopefully within 3 months, government of India will come out with specific guidelines regarding this. So basically, these are the subsidies which are available, sir. So there are two types. One is enterprise specific. Another one is group based subsidies.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. There are 3 more questions which are regarding loans. Is any minimum investment required at owner's level for obtaining business loan under MSME scheme? Why banks ask owner contribution is required to obtain loan? This is one question.
Minimum contribution required.
Minimum contribution required from owner.
So normally, sir, if you see, normally banks will ask 25% contribution from the promoters. Remaining 75% they will give as the loan or as a loan. But for MSMEs, especially under some schemes like PMAGP, there is a government act that they should not ask more than 10%. So 10% has to be borne by the promoter, and 90% has to be given by the bank. But again, it is a scheme specific. But if you ask if they are not financing under any scheme, then 75-25 is the normal ratio prevailing among the banks. But under some schemes like PMAGP, yes, 90-10 ratio.
Okay, sir. Then please elaborate interest rate for obtaining obtain loan under MSME scheme and any pledge required for this. If not, then why banks are not ready to provide loan easily?
Sir, I think in one of my slides, that is what I told, that why bankers are not giving loans. That is the question. And everywhere, wherever we go, I think we are working almost across 20 states now in India. And also, at least, I surveyed in more than 15 countries. The same question asked by MSMEs in different countries also. Why bankers are not giving us loans? So as I said, the root cause analysis we have to do. Sometimes, as I said, MSMEs squarely blame banks, which is also not correct. As I said, there are many constraints from the from this demand side, also from the entrepreneurs also. Like for example, there are some areas like if you go to Badohi, bankers have in fact formally they blacklisted carpet industry now because too much of NPS. So one of the root cause may be too much of NPS, and the second cause may be because they are not maintaining proper records. And third one, again, as I said, they may maintain records, but they manipulate. They will show very low figures, whereas where the actual transaction is one different, and the kind of transactions they are showing in the audited statements are different. So these are some of the things. Of course, there are some definite issues from the bankers also, as I already informed. Some bankers have very prejudiced opinions that I should not finance labor intensive units where I cannot recover. If they default, I cannot recover. So if you see PMEGP scheme, and if you see sector wise or product wise, 30% of the PMEGP scheme gone to rice millers. Bankers feel very safe financing rice mills because if he defaults, he can easily sell off the machinery to anybody. Now they will definitely will not finance a brick making unit where they have to show 200 to 300% collateral security, otherwise they will not finance. And that is a problem because it is a labor intensive unit. Entire working capital will go to labor, and there is no tangibility, tangible assets present with the labor intensive units. So there are many reasons for why banks are not financing, and it is in spite of central government giving a lot of targets to meet the MSME requirements to the banks. Still some banks are, and some branches are following and are meeting the targets, but many banks and many branches are not meeting the targets because they are also having their own constraint that if 3 months NPA, it will affect their promotions. So there is I don't know what to say, because this is a very peculiar, sensitive situation that we are facing now, especially post-COVID thing. The bankers are very, very conservative now in financing the MSMEs. But having said that, the government of India is also infusing a lot of money in the form of this credit guarantee. Hopefully, things may improve in near future. So there is one more part of that question. What is that, sir? Interest rates. Interest rates, as I said, sir, again, normally it varies between 10 to 14%. But there are some schemes like the PMEGP. They will say that you have to give 1 or 2% less than prime lending rate, so PLR. So like that, some schemes have their own specific guidelines given. So, but again, it varies from scheme to scheme. So again, bankers have, I hope you know better than me, bankers have plus or minus 1% flexibility with them. If they found that that particular MSME enterprise is a credit fit, they may reduce, because if they have good transactions, if they have good credit history, if they have good CIBIL, they may reduce 1%. For example, I am having a very poor CIBIL courtesy to one of the credit card. So when I got housing finance, my interest rate is 2% higher. Okay. So compared to other people. So I paid that. I know I am still paying the 2% extra. So it again depends upon the credit worthiness one, and it depends upon the scheme under which they have applied. But otherwise, it varies between 10 to 14%. And if they go to microfinance institutions, it may even go up to 18% also.
There is another part is any pledge required for loan under MSME?
Any?
Any pledge required.
Unable to understand, sir. Any place?
Pledge or collateral, you can say stock pledge, etc.
Any pledge you mean to say?
Pledge. Yes, sir.
Any pledge required for MSME financing?
For MSME finance.
Pledge means collateral guarantee you are talking about, no?
Collateral guarantee.
Actually, sir, yes, it's a correct question. For especially micro enterprises, as per the government of India, no, till 10 lakhs, if I am not correct, no guarantee is required. But still, in spite of that, some banks insist that since you do not have credit worthiness, you need to give some pledge. Either it may be in the form of collateral guarantee or in the name of some guarantors. So, it again depends upon the credit worthiness. But there is a government act that till 10 lakhs, I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe recently they might have changed it post pandemic, but till 10 lakhs, no pledge is required. And there is also credit guarantee scheme under which if they apply, there is no need of any pledge also. So yes, up to 10 lakhs or up to 1 crore now. And in fact, credit guarantee scheme up to 2 crores now. Project cost, there is no need of pledge, and that will be taken care by the government through credit guarantee scheme.
Oh, okay, sir.
But provided the credit guarantee scheme is very conservative, provided he has a very good CIBIL report and very good KYC documents, then only the CGT MSME will come into the force. Otherwise, I know it is virtually impossible to get that kind of credit guarantee.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Some banks ask for balance sheet signed by the CA. Is it necessary under MSME to obtain signed balance sheet under CA in cases where audit is not required?
Sir, if you ask my personal opinion, I'll definitely say that every audited statement should be signed by a third party, so by a chartered accountant. But having said that, normally there is again Reserve Bank guidelines that for micro enterprises, the bankers are not supposed to ask audited balance sheets and P&L statements. But now I don't know how many banks are really following that. Especially when we are going for a loan, especially for working capital, definitely they will ask audited balance sheets. If it is a startup and if it is covered under some PMEGP or credit guarantee scheme, maybe they may not ask this kind of audited statements. But if it's a very fresh startup or if it is an existing enterprise, and if they want to go for expansion of their enterprise, or if they are going for huge working capital requirement, definitely they want audited statements, because the kind of turnovers that they are projecting, because you follow we follow NOI committee method. Some banks will follow different kinds of working capital assessment methods. So it again depends upon the turnover. So a third party has to assess whether really they are the turnovers that they are giving proper or not. So whether it is a micro enterprise or a small enterprise or medium enterprise, it depends upon the amount of quantum of that loan that they are asking. Normally, bankers will not ask for 5 lakhs or 4 lakhs loan. They won't ask for audited signatures. But if it is anything about 10 lakhs project, even I personally feel that audited balance sheets are required really. A third party appraisal is mandatory.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Then there is last question. In case of BG, what is the margin money required by banks normally?
In case of bank guarantee.
Bank guarantee. It's from Gupta, sir. In case of BG, what is the margin money required by banks normally?
This question, I don't know much, sir. In fact, we are also searching for an answer for this, because under the central procurement norms, we are not supposed to give any advance to the machinery suppliers. Now, or if machinery supplier is asking some advance only against bank guarantee, we are supposed to give advance to the machinery supplier. Now, suppose if 10 lakhs is the bank guarantee, normally for us, the banks are asking 100%. So 10 lakhs bank guarantee they are asking. But there are some banks, again, it varies from bank to bank and branch to branch, are the credit worthiness. they may even ask 50% as the bank guarantee. 50% of the amount that we are asking as a BG, they are asking as a guarantee. So it varies from 50 to 100%. But again, it depends upon the, as I said, creditworthiness and also the banker's confidence about that particular project.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Sir, the questions are over. So I request you to please share your contact details in case there are any further questions or we can contact you.
Sure, sir. I think Shambhiji is having my contact number and as well as email ID. Yeah, you can share it with all the people, all my friends, auditor friends. I'm willing to, you can call me at any time. I have no issues.
Okay, sir. Now I request Sanjeev ji from Jamnagar branch to propose vote of thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It gives me immense pleasure to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of ICAI and Committee on MSME and Startup ICAI. Our chairman, Sri C.A. Dheeraj Kumar Khandelwalji, as well as committee's vice chairman, Sri Pramod Jain, and on behalf of all my co-host branches, chairman and their committee members, particularly Sangli branch represented by Mahesh Thanedarji, as well as Gandhidham branch represented by Jayanish Patel. Sir, it gives me immense pleasure to propose a vote of thanks for today's VCM. You have presented the topics which has been very lucidly explained, even touching the core part of the bankers' arrogance or in presenting the finance to the MSME particular sectors, as well as the intricacies of the subject. It was really helpful to our members at large. And we hope, again, we meet on this platform or any other platform by this committee, along with the more members and more topics to come and more schemes to be covered under the chapters, so that our members can take the benefit of the same at large. And with this, I propose a real heartful vote of thanks on behalf of all the ICANs to our speaker, Sri ASK Sharma sir, and really thank you very much, sir, for the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It's my honor, really, sharing my experiences with your members, such a prestigious group, and really you all learn people. It's my honor to share my experiences. But one thing, as a finance consultant, I used to tell that it is very difficult to map the mindsets of the bank managers. Once I still recall that I prepared a detailed project report submitted to one bank manager. He said it is one of the worst report I have ever come across. And with great difficulty, I could able to submit to another manager. He appreciated me so much that he has given me 5 or more 6 projects. So I don't know. I mean, it is very difficult to understand or map the mindsets of the bank managers. I can map any kind of resource, but I'm unable to map the bank managers in spite of my 2.5 decades of experience. So with this, thank you very much, sir, for giving me an opportunity to share my experiences with such an honorable gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.